Growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer. I admired the way lawyers were polished and very eloquent. I could look at my neighbors whose parents were lawyers and was feeling that is what I really need. When I got to high school, I realized that that profession had more than just eloquency and being polished. One day, there was a speaker who came to the school. She was a lady, and she was an ambassador. I got inspired by her story, and I felt I needed to be an ambassador. When I sat for my KCSE, I received my results, and I went home, and I remember telling my dad, I don't think I'm going to be what I want. He, however, told me, don't worry, you are still going to be a very good professional. That really encouraged me. I was called to do BEd Arts. I was going to be a teacher. Before I went to the university, my dad passed away. My mom was then left to be the one to take us forward. A role she played with a lot of calmness as well. When I was in my first semester, I'd made peace with the fact that I was now going to be a teacher. I enjoyed the lessons, and I didn't want to miss even one. One day I received a call. The call was from home, and my sister needed to see me. The call came on Monday, but I didn't travel that day. Remember, I was enjoying my lessons and made peace with the fact that I'm a teacher. I bought time, so I didn't go. On Friday, that call came again, and it hit me. I wondered, so why am I being called now and then? On Saturday, very early in the morning, I went home. I had known my sister was unwell, and she was in the hospital, but I didn't go straight to the hospital. I went home so that I get to know what is going on before I go to the hospital. So while I was at home, my siblings were there as well. No one was telling me why I was needed in the hospital. But Mom told me, look, Jackie, you need to go to the hospital to hear it on your own. So I went to the hospital with my siblings. I went sitting at the bedside of my sister's, at my sister's side. She was weak. She was struggling. She was in a lot of pain. It broke me. She gathered strength, looked at me, called me my name, and said, Jackie, my children need to go to school, they need to go to know God, and they need to eat. I didn't quite understand what she was saying. I told her they are going to school, they are going to church, they know God. And of course they are eating, but we need to focus on you getting better. She looked at me with those weak eyes and turned her head and appeared like she was sleeping. We were all struggling with our emotions. After some time, we left the hospital and went back home. On our way home, those words kept ringing and ringing and ringing in my head. And I was wondering, what did she mean when she said, my children need to go to school, they need to know God, and they need to eat? I tried to push those words to the back, but somehow they kept coming forward. 2 hours after we had gotten home, a call came from the hospital. My sister was no more. She was gone. I didn't know what to do with that news. I didn't know what to do with the instructions that I was given. But they became clearer that I was becoming a parent, that I was already a parent. And I had very clear instructions that these children needed to eat, know God, and go to school. We went on with the plans of burial. We laid my sister to rest. I remember going back to school, and I didn't know what I was going to do next. I talked to the dean, who advises on what I could do. So I went back home, carried my 3 children, and my auntie hosted us for 2 weeks as I looked for where I could stay with these children. I went to the evening program, looked for a house, stayed with them, looked for schools, went to the evening program. I remember the younger one was 3 years old. So every time we were leaving, we were all leaving and leaving her in the house. So one day she said, "Mom, unaenda shule na mimi?" So it hit me again that the instructions were clear. They needed to go to school, eat, and know God. So I was actually not doing it. I was failing her. I could not take her to school then. And I didn't have money to pay for the kindergarten. But I gathered courage and went to the nearest kindergarten. They accepted to take her. So she went on Monday, and she was very happy. So she went to school. She came back in the evening. But the following day, there was no school. She went to that school for 1 day. It kept on hitting me very hard. And I shared with a friend who later connected me to an orphanage. And I was convinced that I needed to make that decision. However, I was just in first year, so there's no way I would leave her just like that. I needed help. 2 of my friends accepted that's a decision that I could make. It didn't go well with quite a number, but I remember going back to my siblings and just convincing them that, look, this is what we need to do at this time. So when they came to terms with it, we all agreed that she goes to this orphanage, and she went. Remember, after going to kindergarten for 1 day, now she got an opportunity to go and study. So that was okay. The day when I was taking her to that orphanage, because it was far off, I received a call. My brother called from home and told me, "Jackie, Mom is in a critical condition. If you can get yourself home, that would be okay." So I asked, "So if she's in a critical condition, please take her to the hospital." He kept on calling and saying, "Are you coming?" I said, "Yes, I will come." At 8:30 p.m. that day, he broke the news that Mom was actually gone. I didn't know what to do with that news. At that time, I had quite a number of mixed reactions. That this is the time when I thought that at least I was going to have lesser load to carry. The support system of the family was still there, but the strength of the family was this mom, who was, again, not there. So I traveled home, and that time my nephew was in his candidate class. He was preparing to do his KCPE. He didn't know what to do either, but we couldn't hide the news from them, so they knew that grandma was not there as well. It was a blow to all of us as a family, and we were wondering, why is life so unfair? Why must it happen to us? So we laid Mom to rest, and we were back, and we were saying, it is well. Friends were very supportive. We stayed together as a family. We needed to support each other. I remember at some point, my brother could send maize from home. We receive it, take it to the posho mill, and that was the only meal we had. We could just prepare the white porridge, and life was going on. But the fact that we were peaceful and we were together gave us the strength to move on. My nephew sat for his KCPE. He did well and went to secondary. The other one was doing very well as well. He was in his class 7 by then. Today, they are all big people. That instruction of my children need to go to school, know God, and eat became a reality. It was also very important that we were able to stay together, and that is what gave me the strength. I got friends who were very supportive. And we never lacked what to eat. Even if it was water, even if it was porridge, we still had a meal. When my nephew was now in his high school, I really needed to make it. And I said it needed to work. So I needed to work very hard so that they still can go to school. Because I'd given a promise. I don't know if it was a promise or it was just an instruction that I took. But we were able to make it. Today, my nephew is working. That niece of mine, who went to a kindergarten for one day, is in her first year today. Jackie standing before you here today is a senior manager at Safaricom. Jackie is a mentor. She's a coach. She's a tech campaigner. I work a lot with youths just to also make sure they make decisions that are right at the beginning of their lives. And it is my hope that Jackie still remains to be Jackie. Thank you.